This is the nature of Zoom. There's no like moment at which, oh, we're live now. We're
there
on.
it is. Oh, we've been live for a little bit.
We'll just float into it. Okay, well, this is the Development Review Board meeting for Burlington, March 16th. We take items up in the order they are on the agenda. I don't believe there's any changes to the agenda, Scott.
That is correct.
Okay, and Scott will bring people in to participate when each item is called, and the applicant and anybody else who wants to participate would give Scott their address and contact information for party status, and so we can follow up with them. Communications, there were no communications, right, other than what's posted.
That is correct.
And minutes, we do have minutes from the last meeting, I believe.
Yep, they're posted online.
Thank you. And I think we'll just hop right into this. First, we have our consent agenda. The first item is 56 Howard Street. Is the applicant here?
The applicant, Amy Magyar, is here, and Amy, you can speak now if you'd like.
Thanks for having me. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Excellent.
So I would say this is recommended for consent. And do you have any issues with this being treated as a consent agenda item?
Not at all.
I guess I'm gonna just be a little bit of a pain here. I'm gonna ask to take this off the consent just because I'd like to be able to talk about it a little bit and stuff. So I guess we're gonna do that. So Amy, I'm gonna swear you in if I may.
Absolutely.
And I guess before I do, I have to ask you, is there anybody from the public to speak on 56 Howard Street?
Like to weigh in, raise your hand. If you're on the phone, you can do that by *9. And no one's raising their hand, Brad.
Okay, so Amy, I'll swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth and whole truth under pain and penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay, and I will say, since I'm the one who has to take this off, I know the staff recommended this for consent, so it's, but I'm trying to understand something here, and it just to help me. One thing, I think this is your project, Scott, right?
Yep.
And so the single family house with an ADU just requires 2 parking spaces, right?
That is correct.
When it's a B&B, isn't there a requirement for 1 more space?
No. That if Amy was, the primary single family home was to remain a primary single family home, there would be 2 spaces, and the Airbnb could require parking on top of that. In this case, the owner lives in the ADU on site, which is perfectly legit, which has no parking requirement, and the primary residence would be the short-term rental.
Okay. Then I have one other question too. Amy, just so I understand this, your intention is to rent this out when you're not there, is that right?
My intention is to rent it out. There may be, if I decide to run, for example, the marathon the same weekend, as I may be renting it out, or I may use the excuse to get the heck out of town so that I cannot run it, because that's a great excuse to not run it. So there may be some nights that I am in the accessory dwelling unit, but there may be nights where I am not.
And the unit you're renting here is in the house?
It is the house, yes.
Okay. That was really, I just was trying to get clear on that, and I wanted to ask Scott, so I had to bring it off. So unless there's anything else, anybody, any of the board members want to ask or add to this?
Trust 10K202.
Who's saying that?
I think that was just
My computer back.
Okay. So unless there's anything else you want to add, Amy, we will close the hearing.
Thank you.
And we deliberate at the end of this meeting, so you can listen to that if you want. Okay, thank you. And the next item is also on the consent agenda. That's 136 Birch Court. Is the applicant here for that?
I don't see the applicant's name in the attendees list. If you are the applicant, raise your hand, please. If you're the applicant on the phone, raise your hand, please. I do see one caller.
We could take up Monroe Street and come back to this.
Yeah, sure. I don't see anyone raising their hand, Brad.
Okay, so we'll hold that and come back to it. And we'll do 1921 Monroe Street. Is the applicant here for that?
The applicant is here.
Okay. And is there anybody else who wants to speak on 1921 Monroe Street? See anybody, Scott?
No one's raising their hand, Brad.
Okay, so Abbott, you're, am I right? No.
Hi there.
Okay,
It's Henry Abbott Stark. So I usually go by my middle name, but on the paperwork, I'm Henry.
okay, but here you're Abbott. Okay, well, we can go with that. And I'll swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth and whole truth under pain and penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay, so this is you're establishing a short-term rental and you're asking for a parking waiver on this, right?
Yes, correct.
And I think the staff said you needed to ask for more of a parking waiver than you had thought.
Yes,
And you're
that's correct.
And you're also asking to convert this 3-bedroom to a 4-bedroom, which it has been used as a 4-bedroom for 10 years.
4 units, Brad.
Pardon?
4 units, Brad.
4 units. Oh, did I say bedrooms?
Yeah.
Sorry. 4 units.
4 units. Yeah, it's been 4 units for a long time, potentially as far back as 1983. But it seemed like though, because there's space on the lot for 4, we would just go through the zoning process that way and apply for the 4th unit, because it seemed like that might be simpler and allowable.
And
But
it's been rented as 4 units. Not true.
It's been rented as 4, yes.
And really the parking is tandem on both sides of the house, right?
Correct.
Brad, if I may jump in, it's actually stacked on both sides.
Oh, sorry.
So tandem is 2, one behind the other. Stacked is 3 in a row. So this property has a permit from the 80s, and Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, from the 80s to be a triplex. And it had a site plan, a pretty basic one, but a site plan that showed 2 driveways on either side with 3 spaces each. That got approved. It wouldn't be approved today, but it got approved then. So they're recognized for 6 spaces then. Fast forward today, we have an extra dwelling unit with no way to stack it 4 deep, hence the requested waiver. And then we have these, I don't know what the proper label is for them. The stacked spaces, the 3rd stacked spaces wouldn't be recognized today. They got a permit for it. It's not so much a waiver, it's just something the board needs to be aware of.
So we can work with the fact that they have 6 spaces.
Yes, I think is a short answer.
Right.
Before I keep going, does anybody on the board have any questions for Abbott?
I just have a couple questions. So
in your rental, or not your rental, in your agreements with your Airbnb guests, do you make clear that there's no parking available and that they shouldn't expect to, be parking on the street or anything like that?
Yes. And that, because we have the space in the driveway.
And then so you said, I think it's somewhere in your paperwork, you said that you make clear to tenants that they don't have parking spaces, or that you try to discourage parking spaces. Is that included in the lease, or do you make clear to folks, how do you make clear to tenants that there's limited parking, and is it on a first come first served basis, or is it built into specific leases for specific apartments?
Well, there are some special circumstances. We have some long-term tenants who don't have a vehicle and don't plan on getting one, just because they're, half the building is rented out to elderly and low income or disabled people. So for those leases, they just sort of naturally do not have vehicles, but it is also in their lease that they are not granted any parking with their unit. It is written into the lease.
Any other questions from the board on this? I guess I'll ask a question to Abbott. You're planning to rent out your unit as a B&B, right?
Yeah, just mine, exactly.
And that's when you're away.
Yes.
I mean, is this something that happens regularly?
Well, it depends if we're in a global pandemic or not. Yeah, under normal circumstances, I do travel for work on a somewhat regular basis, but it's been much lighter under these circumstances.
Okay. And which unit is it that you're renting out?
This is 21 apartment B.
Is that second floor, first floor?
It's first floor rear.
Okay, good. I know you had the numbers on the plan. And out of curiosity, the second floor rear, does that have its own stairs on the back? Is that how it's accessed?
Yeah, they have their own stairs.
I don't have any other questions right now. Anybody else have any questions for the applicant?
This is where you live full time?
Yes.
Brad?
Yeah.
Based on the staff comments about going from a 2-unit waiver to a 4-unit waiver, I was wondering if the applicant, or I could ask the applicant, if he had any objection to just updating the parking management plan to reflect the 4-unit waiver, not the 2-unit waiver, as a condition of approval, just so that the records are clear and there's no discrepancy later on as to why we went with 4 and not 2.
That's fine with me. Scott and Ryan, does that match what you were thinking too?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the two non-conforming spaces, again, are kind of wonky, right? They got approved in 82, wouldn't be approved today, and we don't really even recognize them. But I think for the punchline and the management plan, it makes sense to refer to 4.
I mean, yeah, honestly, it's a little weird to have, I mean, to the point of the zoning, it's a little weird to have 3 cars stacked in a row. It just makes it complicated, especially if they're from different units. So the way that we're kind of operating, the way that we're operating right now is that one side, you really can get 3, you can get 3 cars on both sides, but one side is reserved for 1 unit. They have 2 bedrooms, and sometimes they do have a 3rd car there. So it's because that's sort of what they've always, that's just the way it's been done. So going down to 5, so you'd have 2 on one side, 3 on the other, would be more ideal. You know, if we split the difference, that would just be better for the people who live there and who have enjoyed that third parking space when they need it. But you know,
That would be a 3 parking space waiver.
that would be a 3 parking space waiver, but it would be good for the tenants who are there now.
And if you want less waiver, that's always good. I just want to make sure that what's submitted and what we approve line up, because it'll be a mess later.
I think that's a good point.
When you go to sell it,
What-
someone's going to ask
What
you.
if I rewrote the parking management plan to accommodate 5 spaces, but presuming that on one side it would only be for 1 unit. There wouldn't be a blending of units on that side where there is the additional waiver space granted, if that were to work.
Looking at Scott and Ryan, I'm fine with that.
I think I follow that. Again, we're talking about standards from 82 and how they line up with today's standard. Today's standard, you can have tandem per unit. So if you only want to have 2 per unit, right, that makes sense in tandem arrangement. I don't think we want to overcomplicate it. I mean, your parking management plan really needs to get to how you're managing actual parking demand with this arrangement and how the spaces are divvied up and managed.
What we're saying is, we're going to look at this thing and saying where the parking management plan says it has 6 spaces, we're going to say it has 5 spaces. Is what we're talking about now. So 3 parking
Yeah.
space waiver.
And we could write it in a way that it was for the 1 2-bedroom unit that's that there isn't blending of the 2 of multiple units on that one side where there is that extra waiver space granted.
I don't think you assign spaces in your current description of your request for parking waiver, and I'm not sure that we want to get into that, of how you divvy up the spaces.
Yeah, there was a note that we put in there just about how we, I do know that parking is such a hot potato issue, and of course, at every level. So I do manage it very carefully to minimize any additional parking that would be either in the driveway or a consideration on the street, to really try and get people who who are not relying on their own personal vehicle for transportation.
Okay. Agreed.
Because the fewer cars, the better.
Okay.
So just to be clear, are you asking for a 3 parking waiver or a 4 parking waiver?
That's a question to you, Abbott.
That is a question to me. I actually, Ryan, what did we end up agreeing on? Because I know we went back and forth. What were we in the?
I thought
in
it
your
was
report?
that 2 originally, and then with the confusion about the 6 originally that were permitted in 82, and how we don't recognize 2 of those 6, that kind of threw up the red flag for us to bring that concern to the board tonight. So if it's a 2-space waiver or a 4-space waiver or a 3-space waiver, I think it's whatever the board's comfortable with. It sounds like they're comfortable with 3. So if you've got 3 on one of the driveways and 2 in the other driveway, you meet your required number.
I think that sounds totally fair. That's fine.
And I guess my view is that since it was recognized by permit as 6 spaces, I'm okay sort of recognizing that the 3 on one side and 2 on the other. So. Any other comments from the board? Yeah, I'm going to close the public hearing and have it. We will probably deliberate in a few minutes at the end of this hearing, at the end of our meeting.
Okay. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Okay, thanks. So we have one other item, 136 Birch Court. Scott, can you see what the applicant is here?
Yep. The applicant is here.
Okay.
Oh, good grief. Older version of Zoom. I'm gonna have to press a couple buttons.
Ah, I see.
All right.
Hello, Ervina. Is that how you say your name?
Yes, sir.
Good. So this is a request for 1-bedroom bed and breakfast. This is on the consent agenda, which means the staff has recommended approval. Have you seen the staff's recommendation?
Yes, I did.
And are you okay with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Does the board, anybody on the board object to treating this as consent? No. Scott, is there anybody here from the public on 136 Birch Court?
No one is raising their hand, Brad.
Okay, so does somebody want to make a motion on 136 Birch Court?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
On 21-060 CU 136 Birch Court, I move that we accept staff recommendations and what is this? Approve the approve the application.
Okay. Is there a second? Keenan seconds. Any discussion on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Brooks? Brooks, are you? Okay. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, you're approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Am I all done?
You're all done.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate it. Have a
You'll
good
get the
day.
official approval from the staff sometime soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good.
So we have 2 items to deliberate on. And I never realized quite how this was working on Zoom, that we're going to close the hearing. The Development Review Board meeting is officially closed, and we'll continue as a deliberative session where people can watch and listen in, but people don't participate. So good. So we're all here for that. So first item is 56 Howard Street. Request that was recommended for consent. I just was curious about how the parking was working in this because it seemed a little odd, so that's why I asked to take it off. So I guess maybe unless people object, I'll make a motion on this since I took it off. Okay, so at 56 Howard Street, I move that we approve the application, adopt staff's findings and recommendations. Is there a second?
Second.
Nobody wants to second this?
I'll second it.
Who is that?
Is your computer slow, Brad?
I wonder if I'm having trouble with my.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I'm getting the
seconded it.
impression
Caitlin
that-
seconded it. AJ left for a while and came back.
I've been here.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I think I missed, well, something. Anyways, Brooks second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So that one passed. And the next one is 1921 Monroe Street. I will chime in that I'm uncomfortable with the tendency that we're finding that people are asking for B&Bs to rent out when they're not there. And to me, even though I don't think, when it says owner occupied, to me, that means owner occupied. They're not there. So I know I raised this on another one previously. I don't think anybody else.
I interpret owner occupied as, they don't have to be there when it's rented, but they come back to it. So that creates a significant amount of investment in keeping the property up. And so.
Well, what's the difference between just renting it out when they're not renting out a property that they don't live in?
They don't live there. I mean, if I rented my house out for the weekend, I come back to it and I live there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the difference is, and I kind of agree with Brooks, on a policy level, if I did like a VRBO, I'd be pretty judicious about who stays at my place when I go away, because I'm like, this is actually my place. It's not just a above the garage apartment that I built specifically for an Airbnb, or it's a 4-unit building that I specifically just rent out. I mean, I have a real stake in what it looks like because I'm there most of the time.
Right. Not only what it looks like, but if something goes wrong or it becomes dilapidated or there's an incident, well, you're back there and you still have to answer to your neighbors. You still have an investment in the community. It's just not something you can ignore. And that's kind of how I view owner occupied. I don't think they have to be there when somebody rents it, but I think they have to have that sufficient level of investment.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree too. I mean, there are definitely
what's up?
Duplexes and triplexes in this community that are exclusively run as hotels. We know this to be the case, and they're not the same as if somebody's renting out their own unit that they have to come back to. My concern is, do we start seeing people that, may not actually be living in these units and say that they are? There's no evidence, and we have to take everything as truthful. It's under oath. But that's my concern, is that you start to see people finding ways to claim residency in something that they're not actually coming back to.
I think
that doesn't seem to be the case here. So.
No.
Yeah, I think that'd be more of an issue for code enforcement. I mean, for me, I think that, for these owner occupied apartments that they're renting out, I mean, they're going to have their own furniture there. It's going to be their own beds. They're going to have an incentive to maintain it and make sure that they're getting quality people coming in. Because I mean, if you've got someone coming into your home that has all your stuff in it, you really want to make sure that, they're not going to take off with it, or that they're not going to destroy it.
Well, it persuades me, I guess. Anyway, so somebody want to make a motion on 1921 Monroe Street?
I can make a motion. So on 1921 Monroe Street, 21-0589 CU, I move that we adopt staff findings, except amend the parking waiver to 3 spaces, and ask that as a condition of approval, that the applicant submit a revised parking plan that includes the 3-unit parking waiver, or the 3-space parking waiver, and otherwise approve the application.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Caitlin, okay. And so we're approving in this sort of, I like the after the fact approval, right? That's a sort of, but anyways, it seems legitimate at this point. Any other discussion on this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So with that, we are done. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Well one.
Yeah, thank you all. See you later.